How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here with special guest Maya the Cat. We're going to go over the books this week. It's Nick at Night, my non-spoiler comic book review show. Let's get into it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and put my grading bar up. How this works is every time I review a book, I'm going to put the cover of that book on the grading scale so you see how they stack up against each other. And right before we get into that, I want to invite you to join the channel membership. That's right, I have YouTube memberships available right now. Go down below underneath this video, click on that join button. You can see all the details there. There's a tier for everybody, so please make sure to check that out. I really appreciate it. But let's get into the books right now. We're going to start in the big two, as we always do. Going into Marvel, we have the Hulk issue number 11, written and drawn by Ryan Ottley. So it looks like Donny Cates is not on this issue at least, but probably pulled some inspiration, maybe a phone call or two, a couple text messages, because this book is insane. It's unnecessary, and I don't really know what the hell is actually going on. I think I missed an issue of Hulk. Whenever he landed on this Hulk planet where he's being praised, I was like, that's kind of enough. I was a big fan of this book. Maybe not a big fan, but I was at least interested in what was going on with the direction Donny Cates had in this run. And then it kind of went into the absurd, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to hang on, see what's going on. I'm going to appreciate the art at least and see where Donnie's going to take this. I think something's going on with Donnie right now. He's not really professionally in the game at the moment. He's been missing for a little while now. So I feel like some of the other people are kind of pulling the slack a little bit. And so now we have Ryan Ottley on here. And I want to say, like, even the art suffered maybe a smidge because he's kind of pulling double duty on this book. But it's not really great. We basically have like this big game of like Quidditch with all these different Hulks, right? There's all these different rules and stuff, and so they're all wondering how strong our Bruce Banner Hulk is, and so they have to play this little game to figure it out. Again, the art style is pretty fun, it is interesting, but yeah, man, it's just not the same, and this book was ultimately just kind of hacky and weird, and so I didn't really like it. So this book is kind of spiraling down right now, I think. Donnie's officially off. I want to say issue 12, maybe it's 14, something like that. If you know, drop it in the comments. So I can't really recommend the Hulk. Maybe read the first arc or so, but just know that it's kind of bleeding nowhere, in my opinion. And we're going to see where it happens when this book is over and when Donnie's off of it. Who's going to pick it up? Are they going to reboot it? Are they going to keep going? Is Ryan off of it as well? I don't know. We got to figure this one out. Hulk, it's not that great. Now, on the complete opposite end of the scale, we have Jason Ahrens on Punisher, issue number 9. Now, this book was a hell of a book. If you're interested in what's going on with the Punisher right now, with his war with Ares, the god of war, you know, him rising to power to be this hand, this demon of the hand, or whatever it's called, and the beast, I think they call it. If you're interested in that, and you want to see Frank Castle hit Super Saiyan, this is the book for you. It is nuts, action-packed. We have this underlying narrative, this narration from his wife as well, which is what we've seen before in previous issues, but the story changes a little bit and we get a little bit more context. It's very narration heavy, but it supplements what's happening on the pages as it's going. So, man, it adds a lot of cool context. I really don't even want to show you any of the art because I feel like you need to experience it yourself. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. There's really nothing I can show you that doesn't just kind of like give away some of the shock and suspense. So no art preview for this issue, but I love the direction it's going to. And this is turning into like a little mini event, which is really cool. So more people are going to get involved and I cannot wait for that. I love the direction of this book. It feels like another event coming and I'm all about it, man. Punisher, it's one of my favorite books of last year, especially from Marvel. This book really cranked it up to 11. Check this one out. Next book we have from Marvel, we have Invincible Iron Man issue number 2. Got that connecting cover with that suit's armor, which I think will look pretty cool when it's set up. Gary Duggan is on this one, and it feels like that. It kind of feels like a book that I've read from his before, and so it's an okay book. So we have Tony Stark. He's basically homeless right now. He's got a couple different resources. He's presumably drunk, but we learned he's kind of been poisoned or something like that. He's getting into some social trouble. We have Riri bailing him out, and someone's impersonating him. We got a hint in the first issue that someone's either using his likeness or his persona or his means, and they're messing with some of the villains, and so the villains are really pissed at him, and they're attacking him because they take it personally. There was some kind of like abuse or hijacking of powers or something like that. So this is another issue of another person coming to him really pissed off, and Tony's trying to catch up exactly to how he's wronged them when he really didn't. And so we don't really have a lot of answers just yet. We just have a lot of cool cameo appearances and some battles with Riri. We understand some of what's happening a little bit, but we still don't have a name or a face to who's actually causing all this drama. And so, yeah, things are going to escalate pretty quickly because they start attacking Tony in a very personal way towards the end of this book as well. So, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's nothing mind-blowing right now. If you want to touch him with Tony Stark and Iron Man and see what he's up to, you know, this will get you by. But by no means is it like, oh my God, I can't wait for the next Invincible Iron Man to come out. So, yeah, I think the only reason why I would is because these connecting covers are going to be fire when they're all said and done. So, Invincible Iron Man, it's okay. It's okay. And that's perfectly fine. So, you know, maybe a trade weight. We're going to hop over into some DC Comics next. We have World's Finest Batman and Superman issue number 11 from Mark Waid. I'm loving this book. We have Dan Mora and Bomb Villain on here as well. I love the dynamics between Superman, between Batman, between Boy Thunder. I love all the cameo appearances from all the other characters. We have tons of people in here. Hell, we got some of the Joker in here as well. And so basically, a lot of the villains are trying to take advantage and learn a lot of stuff from Boy Thunder, either to corrupt him, to kill him, to gain knowledge from him. And so he's been kidnapped in a way, and they're trying to get this information out of him and trying to, you know, take out the sidekick, as some of the villains like Joker like to do. What I think adds another extra layer of drama to this book in particular is because Boy Thunder is kind of unstable anyways. Superman and everybody are just trying to get him on board, trying to teach him the ways, but he's got this anger inside of him, and he's just now learning how to control his powers, and so that's a deadly, dangerous combination. And so when it's used against him, he kind of snaps, and so he kind of loses his way, forgets his teachings, and Superman and Batman got to do something about it, right? Superman's got to either nullify those powers or send him somewhere where he can't do much damage until he trains and understands a little bit more. So I really like the idea of like another super powerful person in this universe, just not quite in control yet. A little young, you know, it's like a very Rogue Robin, but like a Superboy kind of approach. And then of course, Dan Mora's art is absolutely fire in this book. I'm loving this one a lot. World's Finest just feels different. It feels cool. It feels modern, but yet traditional at the same time. Artwork is great. Storytelling is really fun. Tons of spin-offs. We have Lazarus Planet. We have an Alpha. We have an Omega. We have Batman versus Robin. So many things are spinning out of this book, and it's just a really fun little ride right now. It's going to be a cool event as it builds, so check this one out. It's really cool. Next book we have is the 100th issue of Nightwing. This is from Tom Taylor. We have a host of people that wrote, or rather drew, this book, and so I went ahead and dipped back in. Now, I was reading Nightwing back in like when it was 78, 79, that real awesome issue with Alfred and the letter, and we learned how he got the money. He's inherited all of his money, things like that. And I read the next several issues into the Heartless run, into the whole Mayor run, when he found out some interesting family stuff. And so I read through that, but like it kind of fell off for me. I just lost interest. I know a lot of people love this book, so I'm going to kind of tread lightly, but prepare yourself. So issue number 100, I wanted to touch base again, just see what was going on. And I think I was reminded pretty quickly why I dropped the book to begin with. It doesn't really feel like a book I care about reading. And what's a shame is I remember reading Joshua Williamson's Dark Crisis, and Nightwing was in there too, but every time he was on the page, I felt like it was just a better story, not just the Crisis event, but I feel like his writing, the art and everything. Of course, the art shifts in here due to a bunch of different creators, but I don't like the art shift in here. Everything seemed kind of hacky. You know, the Teen Titans pop in. It's a weird like prison heist. Everyone's got to get together and stop the bleeding kind of a thing. And so it's like, okay, we've seen that kind of story before. Nothing really felt impactful in here, or I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was, but it reminded me what I didn't like about it the first time when I dropped it. And so I'm glad I kind of, you know, did a little pulse check here just to see what's going on in Nightwing. But it's not really something I really want to read. I think it's Tom Taylor. Because I've dropped a few of his books in the past just because I don't feel anything when I'm reading the books. And so when other writers have this character in their hands and they're writing them, they write really cool scenes, impactful scenes. Like I said, coming off of Dark Crisis, I was inspired. I like where it's going. That same inspiration is inside of this book, but the execution for me just wasn't there as much as it was in Dark Crisis. So I think it's not a character, I think it's the writer. So we're going to keep getting Nightwing. We're going to keep paying attention to the creative teams, see where it goes from there. We have New Dawn or whatever it is coming pretty soon to DC. I'm excited to see where the character goes in general. I'll check it out then. All right, going over into some indie books next. In Vault Comics, we have Barbaric issue number 1 with Hell to Pay. We have Morrissey on this. This is just such a fun book, man. If you've read any barbaric, you know how absurd, insane, and chaotic and crazy this book can get. We have this basically cursed barbarian who's got a talking axe, who gets drunk when he drinks blood. He's basically immortal. He meets this witch, kind of a girl who's got these weapons tattooed on her, swords and daggers that she can manifest into reality to take things out. The quest has been very long so far, but essentially our barbarian character has been sent to hell by this other wizard kind of a guy, and she's assumed power. I think her name is Scorn. She's assumed power of the axe, and now she's on a mission to go rescue him from hell. So this is her journey with some other companions to get to the people who know how to get in there, get in and out, and save Barbarian from hell. The artwork in this book is absolutely incredible. I'm loving it. We got like orcs and all sorts of weird crap, little like demons and stuff, monsters, lots of blood. It's gory, it's violent. The axe has a lot of insane adult humor, and it's just a really, really fun time. So if you're into that kind of stuff, high action, high paced, medieval kinds of stuff, barbarian kinds of stuff with a little bit of supernatural witch elements to it, dude, you gotta check this book out. It is so fun. And we touch base with Owen, our barbarian, in hell as well. And is he having such a bad time? Maybe not necessarily with a person of his, history. You know what I mean? And so he's kind of he's tearing it up right now. He's doing what he should be doing. So this book is incredible, man. I'm loving this. Pick up the original, like the first volume. There's a couple tie-ins, one-shots here and there. Not necessary. It just adds more context to the story, but hell to pay. Dude, this was awesome. Check this one out. All right, we're jumping over into some Image comics. We have I Hate Fairyland. I don't want to get demonetized here. Why? Because I Hate Fairyland, issue number 3 from Scotty Young. And this book is awesome as well. Every time I read an issue of I Hate Fairyland, it makes me want to go back and read volume number 1 because I have it in trade and I just haven't read it yet. And every time I look at this book, I'm like, damn, I need to go back and read that because this book is insane. It's absolutely incredible. So we have our main character here. She's trying to make her way to Fairyland. She's actually been hired by somebody to get some kind of resource or save this person's son. There's a lot of like twisting motivation around that character, and that's pretty comical in itself. And so she's on her way to Fairyland, but she has to get there. She has to go through all these obstacles, and she's found some companions that's going to help her through this journey. But it's just like insanity and absurd stuff happens in here. They go into a bar, they get in trouble, they think they find some kind of an artifact that's going to help them navigate their way to Fairyland, but then like, man, all hell breaks loose and turns into like a Critters or a Gremlin switch situation. The art is gnarly and detailed, and you can spend all day looking at this stuff. It's really incredible. I love this book. Maybe not a lot happens in this book, but it's just like so humorous. It's absurd. So much to look at, and I don't really care. The story doesn't even have to be good. If it's this entertaining to get through, I'm loving it. So I Hate Fairyland, very, very cool book. Issue number 1 is like a couple bucks on eBay if you look at it the right way, and this book has been really fun, so I'd recommend this one. All right, this next book from Image Comics is something I saw on the shelf. There was only one copy of it. It looked interesting enough. If a book looks weird enough, it's got me interested. I'm going to flip through it, and I'm probably going to end up picking it up. We have Immortal Sergeant from Joe Kelly and Ken Nomura. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So again, I know nothing about this book. I don't remember it hitting FOC either, but I went ahead and grabbed this one because it looked deceivingly simple, right? And so you go in here, the art style is not that complicated. It's like sketch drawings almost, and you don't really know if you're going to really connect with it, especially with the lack of dialogue that you see in the first several pages and then scattered throughout this book. But essentially we have this older sergeant. I believe he's, facing retirement. He's heading in that direction. Some of his replacements are already right behind him. And so his days are winding down, you know what I mean? And so, he's kind of mad about that. Maybe he's reflecting on the things he could do and couldn't do in the past. I think where this is heading basically is he has this one regret, maybe this one child murder that he just couldn't solve back in the day, something like that. And he's trying to do whatever he can to maybe get that to conclusion. We know we don't really progress in that direction. There's a lot of hints that might be the case, and maybe I'm reading into it wrong, but it was a pretty cool book. There's a lot of interesting things in here. He's a very capable and seasoned guy. Think of like a Jim Gordon kind of a character facing retirement, but he wants to do the right thing one last time, maybe before he finally calls it. So the art style, again, is deceivingly simple. It's all black and white, very sketchy, but it's very impactful and it plays well with the story in here too. So books like this are actually pretty fun. You don't really know they're coming out. As soon as you see them, You can flip through them and check them out and see if there's something that you might be interested in. Immortal Sergeant, pretty cool book. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it was a pleasant surprise. I didn't regret reading it, so pretty cool. Maybe an interesting trade read. Maybe when it comes out. Let me know if you read it down below. All right, the next image book we're going to get into is Art Brut issue number 2 from W. Maxwell Prince, Morazzo, and Alhalloran, and I'm loving this book as well. Again, I read it in trade format under the title Electric Sublime, which came out a little while ago, I believe from IDW, if I'm not mistaken, reprinted from Image Comics. Slight changes, just name changes, lettering changes, things like that. And I think there was maybe some other extra pages or something like that. And there might be a little extra story in the back. But we essentially have somebody who's really in touch, I don't know, metaphysically with art in general. And we have this detective who's investigating all these vandalisms with these really famous artwork. She's working with him to try to understand who could possibly do this, kind of why and how, right? So inside of this issue here, we explore this cultist in a way. He's kind of massacred this art class, kind of killed all the students, and we're understanding, we get some backstory from a surviving student in there about who this person might be. This issue jumps around a whole lot. There's a lot of flashbacks, a lot of flash forwards and things like that. We're in one realm, and then we're in the Electric Sublime, or inside the canvas, whatever they call it in this book. So I can see how that would be kind of confusing for some of the readers to kind of figure out where we are at that moment. But it is really interesting to kind of see what the world is behind the canvas, and they explore a lot of cool things in here, and it's very colorful and action-packed. I'll show you a little bit of what that actually looks like in here. And the one side we have our inside behind the canvas kind of scene, then we have our detective kind of heading home right here. What's fun about this book is we get a little bit of a backstory about our main character, Arthur Brut, in here, kind of what his childhood was like, what his dependency on art in general is like. It's like a drug to him. He kind of needs it. And if he doesn't get it, he starts losing it, right? He starts to kind of go insane. So again, it's like, you know, W. Maxwell Prince's ability to kind of sneak in human troubles into his stories. We have like this addiction almost, but it's like a different kind of addiction. We have this otherworldly kind of an aspect to it as well. You know, Morazzo and Alhalloran are just doing awesome jobs doing their characterizations in here and telling the story visually, because I bet that could be pretty intimidating when you're having to do with famous art pieces and having to recreate them in a different way. So, you know, this is kind of the turning point in the story. We're understanding more about who our villain or cultist actually is, what he's capable of, and we have Arthur kind of showing off more of his power and how to bring out this creative side of our detective. It's a pretty cool book, issue number 2. There's only a few more issues left, so pick up the trade if you haven't already. It's available already under Electric Sublime, but get the single issues because we want some more of these volumes, so make sure to grab a copy of this. It's pretty awesome. All right, still in Image Comics, we have Kroma issue number 3 from Lorenzo De Felici. I believe that's how you pronounce it. This book is really, really fun, and it's great. First off, it's square bound, which I really like. And second, it's really telling a compelling story, which I think is great. And we're basically touching base with this girl we were introduced to in the first issue. She was seen in this culture to be like an abomination, a devil. She had color in her eyes. This is a world that ridded color because it actually brings violence, and it brought destruction to their civilization before. They were able to get rid of color in their world, either through messing with genetics or doing something. They don't really explain that necessarily. That's not really the point. The point is anything that has a lot of color and everything is kind of an abomination, and so she is that vessel right now. We learn a lot more about her backstory, where she came from, how she got to the place where she was, and we learn a little bit more about her psyche too. There's actually like this dichotomy inside of her brain right now. She's actually has a lot of loss and regret for this person that she got to know in the first issue who recently passed, and we explore that in here too. But there's also like this like aura, this essence, or this like spiritual part of her as well that manifests itself and kind of talks to her and talks her through situations. The art style in here is incredible. I'm loving this one. Everything about this is like, it's like porcelain. It's delicate, it's beautiful, it's soft, it's really great. But then all of a sudden you get some action scenes in here with like high stakes and murder and things like that. And it's absolutely incredible. And I love the use of color in here too. They kind of shift from like this black and white tone to this color tone whenever they need to, depending on what the situation has. So I think there's something really unique and special going on inside this book. I'm really sad there's only one issue left. I hope we get another volume. I don't know how they can possibly wrap it up. where they left off in this last issue, but we're going to see how it can all kind of come to a conclusion. I'm not necessarily sure what that is. I think in the back, some of the notes and the letters and stuff, there was some hints to some other stuff that could happen in this universe. I don't know if they actually have anything planned for it, but I'm going to miss Kroma. There's a lot of things I don't understand still. I think a one fell swoop read through, like in a trade format or just all the issues back to back, is warranted, because I think there's a pretty cool connecting story there, obviously, and I want to read it all in one sitting one day and just kind of appreciate it as a whole, because I think it would make a little bit more sense in that case. So Kroma, very interesting book. If you're late to the party, you can still pick up the back issues. We only got one more issue left. I think it's a 4-issue run. And so, yeah, it's really intriguing. Let me know if you're reading this and what you think. The last Image book we have this week is Night Club from Mark Millar. I cannot believe this book is $1.99. Guys, you got to be picking this book up just for that price point alone. This is incredible. Issue number 2. I love this book. This is so fun. So it's kind of like your typical, young guy becomes a superhero kind of a story. He's a daredevil kind of a dude. He's trying to film some things for TikTok with his friends, and he gets injured really badly. And this guy comes and actually turns him into a vampire, because essentially he's going to be bedridden and, in a coma his whole life otherwise. And so obviously becomes a vampire. This guy's building his army right now, but he's letting this guy kind of grow and breathe a little bit on his own, explore his powers, understand his limitations, things like that. And he kind of dresses up, he finds his costume and goes back and finds his friends, and he kind of lets them know what the heck is going on. I love their reaction to this, and they're just like, well, that's not fair. I wish I was a vampire, kind of a thing. And then they explore that a little bit more, and it's pretty cool. They run into some old bullies and stuff like that from school. I just love I love this book. It's just a really fun book. The dialogue doesn't seem too far-fetched. You could just imagine like some teenagers going, man, you're a vampire. I wish I was a vampire. I wish I had some cool powers like you. And then it kind of goes from there, right? And so the art style is really awesome as well. We have Ramirez on the art, which is doing a great job. Again, a $2 book, man. I cannot believe this is a $2 book. It is so cool. It's very interesting. It's fast-paced. It's just a fun book. I like where it's going. I feel like in the next couple of issues, we're going to learn a lot more about the main objective of this, like why this guy's building this army right now, these different vampires. And so I feel like this is kind of a fun, hey, have fun with your powers, go hang out with your friends, figure out your limitations, just go have fun kind of an issue. And then I feel like it's going to get pretty dark here in the next couple of issues, or at least that's where I hope it's going. So this book is awesome. You need to be picking up Night Club. It's only $2. Mark Millar's writing this one. Great art in here as well. You got to check it out. So that's everything I got this week. I really appreciate you watching the video. If you're new here, hit that like button and consider hitting that subscribe button as well. I'd really appreciate it. But make sure to go down below in the comments and let me know what you read this week and what your favorite books were, especially if I'm not picking it up. I would love to know what you're reading and what you're loving. As always, thanks again. I'll see you down below in the comments.